The other night, we took it upon ourselves to rank the SEC programs, not teams, programs. I want to say about 30% of respondents promptly took that opportunity to misconstrue what we said and pretend like it was a team ranking. So I had Missouri at number 10, for example, which, if you're ranking the team Missouri number 10, is asinine because there are not 10 better teams coming into this year than Missouri in the SEC. But I wasn't doing that. So what we're going to do tonight, what we're going to attempt to do tonight, is we are going to attempt to rank the Big Ten programs. Now, we have 18 in this thing now. It's crazy. So I'm going to take a nice sip from this cup of coffee, and then I'm going to do my best. That's all I can do. It's all Mima ever said she expects of me. I just need to do my best. So, here we go. Lukewarm coffee. Lukewarm at best. We love a good Luke, though. Okay. Let's rank the Big Ten programs. So what I value when I am ranking a program is not just what you did last year or what I think you're going to do this year. For a program, I'm looking at a rolling 3-year snapshot, and I blend things like on-field results, talent acquisition, stability, and resource pool. All of those things matter when I'm defining the status of a program. So I have 6 tiers here, by the way, in the Big Ten. 6 tiers of programs. Tier 1, this is going to be controversial, whatever. I've got Ohio State as the number 1 program in the Big Ten right now. They've got double-digit wins the past 3 years. They got top 5 recruiting classes the past 3 years. They are a big-time flex in the portal right now. They've got an extremely deep pool of resources, and they've got stability. Those are all the things I'm looking for. You might say, well, aren't you looking for wins against Michigan on the field? Yeah, I sure am. Which is why Michigan would be number 1, and in pure on-field results, they are number 1. But I have to factor in what just happened. I have to factor in that the coaching staff got gutted, and the head coach that was responsible for that left. Michigan's still a heck of a program, though. So it's not a knock. It's the same thing I did with Bama. I got respect for Kalen DeBoer. I got respect for Sharon Moore. And I've got respect for the overall state of the program. We're going to talk about Michigan later in the show. So Michigan's still the number 2 program here. They're 40-3 in their past 3 years. Back-to-back classes outside of the top 10 is interesting in recruiting, but this has been a developmental program. Okay, so Michigan's not a program that has needed top 5 recruiting classes. Oregon, I've got in tier 1. Oregon, day 1 in the Big Ten, I've got them as the number 3 program in the Big Ten. They are surging right now. They got back-to-back double-digit win seasons, back-to-back top 10 classes. They are finishing right now, I think, with the number 3 class in the country. Just insane recruiting right now. Not to put portaling in a backseat, because Dan Lanning and his staff are bringing in really good guys in the portal as well, and they have maximum investment. They have maximum stability and resource pool up there. So Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon make up tier 1 in the Big Ten. Tier 2 is not deep at all. There's one team in tier 2 in the Big Ten, and that is Penn State. When you look at Penn State, you see a lot of very good. Not much elite. You see a whole lot of very good, though, and there's a lot to be said for that. They are a back-to-back double-digit win program. They've got 3 classes now, back-to-back, I think, Jesse, in the top 15 in recruiting. They're the model of stability. You never look at Penn State and say, ooh, feels like a lot of issues behind the scenes there. I'd love for them to continue to invest more in things like NIL. Not that they haven't. I'd love to see it more. I'd love to be talking about Penn State like we're talking about Oregon and Ohio State. But that's holding them to that standard. If I hold them to a normal standard, they're above and beyond most of the Big Ten. So I have told you, I think James Franklin and Penn State are the most accurately rated program and coach in America. They have been beating everyone that they're supposed to beat. They lose to the ones that allegedly, according to Vegas, they're supposed to lose to. And that means I'm slotting them right where they need to be, right there at number 4 in tier 2. Tier 3 gets very interesting in the Big Ten. I got USC as the fifth best program in this conference, but I think it is tier 3 because I think there is separation between those top 2 tiers and those top 4 teams and USC. So notice, talked about this the last 2 shows. USC's not buried here. When I said they're in tier 3, I told you those first 2 tiers aren't very crowded. 11-3 and 8-5. Those are the records Lincoln Riley's had in his first 2 years there. Recruiting's been good. It has not been elite. That's probably the one thing that's taken people by surprise. You may have thought when Lincoln Riley went to USC, top 5 class after top 5 class, and maybe they'll still get there, but they have not been there yet. Haven't been bad, but they have not been elite. Kind of feels like Clemson. Clemson's recruiting pretty good right now, but not elite. They have got right now a philosophy and staff churn that's going on at USC. I've still got confidence in Lincoln Riley. I talked about that, I think, on Twitter the other day. Someone asked me, hey, do you still think he can win a title? Sure I do. Doesn't always have to be in the next 12 months, guys. It could be 3 years down the road. But Lincoln Riley, to his credit, I think he realized, man, plan A is not going to work for me. I got to make moves here. I got to redefine a lot of what my program is. Good for him. He wouldn't be the first guy to do that, nor will he be the last. I got Washington behind USC, so 2 newcomers here. I got in the 5 and 6 spot, and these are both tier 3 schools. They're 25-3 in the last 2 years. And this is very interesting because how do you ignore what Washington's just done, and how do you juxtapose that to what just happened to him afterwards? So I kind of met in the middle here. They backfilled their head coaching position really nicely. Kalen DeBoer walks out the door, but you went and got Jed Fish. And Jed Fish walked in, and you know what attracted him to Washington, I think, is knowing they are really, really all in up there. They get ignored because they're north of Oregon, and Oregon's got Nike. Washington is really, really well aligned. I mentioned this the other day. I'll tell you again. You ought to go find Adam Brenneman's trip up to Seattle last year when he sat down with Kalen DeBoer, and they were talking about that. They were talking about how much alignment there is in the university. You haven't always said that about Washington. So I think that they've got a good pool there. Recruiting has not been what it needs to be. They've got to uptick that, but I got them at number 6. Iowa, I've got at number 7. They're a model of consistency. They're just the same thing over and over again. They are not as good as those top schools. They beat most of the other schools. They are who they are. There is no top 35 class in the last 3 years for them, but they have a style. They have a culture there. I don't know who the new OC is going to be. Maybe it won't even matter because it's going to be the Iowa offense either way. So I got Iowa at number 7. Now we go to tier 4. Wisconsin leads off tier 4. I think Wisconsin will be north of tier 4 and north of number 8 when we're sitting here doing this again this time next year. They could ascend rapidly. They are a top 25 recruiter now under Luke Fickell. They got 3 straight winning seasons. I think they are just scratching the surface under Fickell of what they're capable of. That's going to be a big boy program, I think, in the not-too-distant future. So what they have been gets them at the number 8 spot. What they will be, I think, could vault them up much further than that. I got Maryland at number 9. It was tough to figure out where to put Maryland. They've gone 7 and 6 and then a couple of 8 and 5 seasons, which you probably don't realize because they've been parked in the East. They are the biggest beneficiary of this division system dissolving because they've been the ones that have been capable of probably winning the West, but they hadn't been able to be over there. They've been playing Penn State and Michigan and Ohio State every year. They're kind of a top 30 to top 40 recruiting program right now. I think Maryland sits at number 9, and I think Nebraska's right behind them at number 10. On field, Nebraska's been 3-9, 4-8, 5-7, so not as good as Maryland. I mean, they've been progressing, if you want to call it that. But they got back-to-back top 25 classes now in recruiting, and they've got the resources, and I think now they've got the stability, and they got the right head coach in Matt Rule. So I put Nebraska there in number 10. I think all 3 of those programs there, I could find reason to believe are in ascension mode. Let's go to tier 5. It gets messy here because I've got 1, 2, 3. I got 6 teams. I got 6 programs in tier 5. I got Nebraska at number 10. That's the end of tier 4. All right, tier 5. We go Michigan State at number 11. Jonathan Smith's coming in to take over, and I love him as a head coach, but he just got there 5 minutes ago. They got back-to-back losing seasons, which just makes that 2021 year Feels so long ago. Got Minnesota at number 12, 2 9-win seasons out of the past 3. They were 500 this past year, though. Recruiting, not special. Purdue, 13, like UCLA, 14. I have no clue what to make of UCLA right now. No clue. Don't know if Chip Kelly's going to be there. I would lean towards him not being there this upcoming year. And so, I mean, how do you define what the program even is? It's in a state of flux, top to bottom. Rutgers at 15. Rutgers could be a big mover. Rutgers, check out that schedule. Jesse, just in my ear, give me a yes or no here. Does Rutgers play Ohio State this year? No. Does Rutgers play Michigan this year? No. Does Rutgers play Oregon this year? No. How did they pull that off? That's not a yes or no question, I know, but Rutgers, there it is, a little scarlet shark fin off the shore. It's just Lance Glenn with a fake shark fin on his back. But still, there is a Rutgers shark fin offshore. Like one of you got that reference, by the way. I've got Illinois behind them. And then in Tier 6, because yes, there's a Tier 6 in the Big Ten, I got Northwestern. 4-20 in the last two years ago. And then they went 8-5 last year, 102nd in recruiting. I don't know. And Indiana, they're 9-27 the last 3 years with a new head coach. So that is how the Big Ten stacks up. I look forward to getting your feedback on those power rankings of programs. But I will just humbly ask, if you say someone's too high, tell me who belongs ahead of them and give me your reasoning. I'm not happy, but I'm willing to have disagreement. But don't just say, oh, this is stupid. They don't belong here. Well, who does? Who does?